What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about bodies, bodies, bodies. So this was a first time watch for me. I mainly checked it out because I'm a pretty darn big Pete Davidson fan. I used to watch this, like I was put onto him initially with Guy Code. I don't know if people remember that show, but it was on MTV2. This was like a while ago, and I would watch that show on repeat, and I thought it was like a fantastic show. So I was like, that kind of put me on to him, and I've seen like, I don't like watch all his specials, or I don't watch like, SNL like that, but I've seen clips of him on SNL, and he's funny. But I don't know, overall I just think like Pete Davidson, he's like a funny guy, and I just think he's cool. So I've checked out some of his movies too. I want to see more. The King of Staten Island, I've seen. That one's pretty good. I want to see the one with John Cryer and Machine Gun Kelly. I think that one's called Big Time Adolescence. That one looks really good too. But anyways, I initially, was drawn into this because Pete Davidson was in it, and then I watched the trailer. I thought the trailer seemed pretty good, but and I was like, oh, it's like a little horror movie. Like, let me check that out. And I'm telling you what, I was really into this movie. This movie was really good. The ratings are high. It has like a 90s something percent, or maybe it's like a 80 something percent on Rotten Tomatoes. So it has really good ratings, but you can't always gauge like how good a film is off ratings, because it's all, it's like subjective. It's personal. It's like something could be like the most well-regarded thing ever, but you like what you like type stuff. So yeah, like I was initially interested in watching it, and then once I saw it, I was like, this is so good. It was, I mean, this movie exceeded my expectations. Like, it was really good. So, jumping into a plot summary, the movie focuses on this group of young people, like people in their 20s, and they're at this the like Pete Davidson's character's house. His name's David. He lives in this huge mansion. All these kids, they're pretty much rich kids, except for this girl B. Like, she's just like tagging along with her girlfriend Sophie. But other than that, like, they're all pretty much rich kids. They're having this party. They're having a party during a hurricane. They're having like a hurricane party at David's mansion, and they play this little party game where it's like a killer in the dark type game. They like, pass out a piece of paper, and one person's the killer, and you know, they don't think anything of it. But then people start dying, and it's like in the order that they were dying in the game. So everyone is suspicious, and it's kind of like the rest of the movie. Everyone is getting picked off slowly, one by one, and like tensions are growing, and it's a whodunit. Everyone is blaming each other, and it becomes absolutely chaotic. So that is the basic plot summary. Um, okay, so like this review, there's like so many spoilers in this, so I'm not gonna get into many spoilers. It's gonna be like this might be like a short video, but just I gotta say, like, this is all I'm gonna say, but the 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 premise of this was so unique, so creative, and oh my goodness, like, I was so satisfied with the ending. Like, the whole time I was watching, I was at the edge of my seat. I was like I couldn't really guess who the killer was. I'm like, who's the killer? Who's the killer? I'm like, it's got to be this person. That person's a red herring. It's got to be this person. Because I've like seen enough of these whodunit movies. I was like trying to figure it out, and I couldn't figure it out. And the ending just it blew me away. It was fantastic. But anyways, yeah, the premise, the concept for this movie was so unique. It was so fresh, and it just worked. So got to get that out there. I like the setup too, with the hurricane. Nowadays, with cell phones being in the picture, and modern technology, horror filmmaking is almost harder, where you have to account for the fact that people have cell phones. Back in the day, in the 80s horror movies, it's like people didn't have cell phones. So if you're just walking around, like, you're out of luck. Like you're fucked, you know. But nowadays with cell phones, it's like, well, you like any audience member, you don't even have to be that smart. You would just be thinking like, well, they could have just called 911. They could have just called someone. Blah blah blah. So the hurricane was like a unique setup for the power to go out, for cell service to be down, for Wi-Fi to be down. That was great because like yeah, nowadays pretty much any horror film there has to be like some way that the lead character's phone stops working. Like in Halloween 2018, the boyfriend, dunks the main girl's phone in a punch bowl or pudding. I haven't seen that movie in like since it came out because I'm not the biggest fan of it. But maybe if I rewatch it, I'll like it. But yeah, like basically nowadays you have to work around the phone thing, and pretty much and not in every, but in a lot of modern horror movies, it's like, oh, their phone broke. Someone threw their phone in the water. Like, I liked the hurricane setup. I thought that was a unique setup for the power to be out and for, phone service to be down. And then their car, it's like, oh, why can't they just drive away? Oh, they left their light on and the car is not working. So, yeah, I felt like the setup for why none of their technology's working, why their car's not working. It was pretty smart, and they know like people aren't dumb nowadays. Like they know like they don't. This movie didn't treat its audience like a bunch of dummies. It was like, okay, like people are gonna ask these questions. Like let's not have any gaps. Let's like explain everything. Why is the car not working? Why are the phones not working? Blah blah blah. So that was really good. And then okay. I really something that I thought the whodunit element, like I said earlier, the whodunit element of this movie was really good, and okay, I like how early on in the movie there's this character Greg, and he's like, the best defense is a good offense, and Pete Davidson's character David keeps saying like, what does that mean, Greg? What does that mean, Greg? Because he kind of like David hates Greg a little bit. Well, yeah, he pretty much hates him. But yeah, basically, he won't explain it, and it's like he doesn't explain it. But when you watch the movie, like watching this movie will explain it for you because that was, so much of this movie was these people are so on edge where it's like, well, I think this person's the killer, so I'm gonna get them before they get me. Where it's like I'm gonna like there's this one instance early on where Greg is actually killed, and B like kills him with a kettlebell, and it's like all these girls were ganging up on him and trying to kill him because they thought he was the killer. So it's like that one line sums up so much of the whodunit aspect of this movie because the characters just become so paranoid and they just like all turn against each other. And it's so hectic, like you just have that. There's like, you have that like. There's like a feeling of distrust. Like nobody trusts each other. Nobody feels safe. They're looking over their shoulder. It's like, they literally can't trust anyone. I keep saying anyone's a suspect. It's like It's like Scream, So yeah, I really like the whodunit aspect, and I like that line early on, and I feel like that it just like that was a perfect like precursor to what happens later on in the movie. So yeah, like I like how like all the characters were they were kind of like airing out their personal stuff too. Like they were like fighting a lot. There was like a lot of like like verbal arguments, and then like tensions were just high. Like this movie was amped up, and people are getting in fights, blah blah blah. Like it was the tension was high. So yeah, it was a fantastic whodunit. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is this. A lot of the characters in this movie have there's like certain instances where I can't speak. There are certain instances where they will say like Gen Z type buzzwords. They'll be like, oh, you're so toxic, I'm triggered, oh, you totally gaslighted me. And that was funny because like Pete Davidson's character was like, what does that mean? Like you're just saying some internet stuff. Like he kind of addressed that, but that's like the characters, they don't say it excessively, but it's done in like a satirical way. Like this movie is kind of like a satire of, you know, like kind of like Gen Z internet culture, and you know how we're like so like symbiotically attached to our phones and blah blah blah. Like I like it's not overdone. It's not like overt. It's not like annoying how like the satire, but it's like funny, and people like in my age demographic really do talk about that, like talk like that. Like not a lot of people, and not all the time, but there's just like one girl that I work with, and she would say stuff like that all the time. And she was like, one time she was like, "You're gaslighting me," and I was like, "I don't know what that means." And it was like that's like what Pete Davidson's character said. He's like, "What does that mean?" Like I'm just like a simpleton. I didn't know what that means, but and then like one time I was just because she was kind of a slacker, and I think I asked her to help me with something, or it was something like I did something that was like not bad, and she's like, "You're toxic, you're toxic." So I have like encountered people like from my age demographic talking like that, and I like how Pete Davidson's character, he says that, he kind of says what the audience is thinking. Like uh, the one girl who's, you know, Pete Davidson's character's girlfriend in the movie, she always says stuff like that, like, "Oh, you know, you're so toxic, you're gaslighting me," and he's like, "You don't have a personality." He's like, "Everything that you say is just regurgitated from the internet," and I kind of like that because, you know, I mean, I'm guilty of that. I like a lot of slang that I say, like, or like a lot of stuff that I'm into, like even like a lot of movies, especially nowadays with like streaming and with YouTube. Like YouTube and the internet has like put me on to so much stuff, but you know, like a lot of people even more than me. Like I feel like I'm not excessive. Like at this, I feel like I'm a little bit original, but you know, like some people are just regurgitating whatever this person said online, whatever this influencer said, whatever blah blah blah. So like I really like that line, and yeah, the kind of Gen Z satire in this, it was I'm from that generation. I'm like guilty of being, you know, chronically on the internet and stuff. So it's like it was making fun of my generation and stuff that like I do or I know like other people do, and but it wasn't like over the top. It was like very subtle, and I thought it was really good, and it was actually pretty funny. So yeah, I liked all that like Gen Z satire. That was pretty darn good. But yeah, overall, I know that I didn't talk that much about the movie. Like there's I don't want to get into any spoilers with this movie. It would absolutely ruin it, and I feel like people should definitely watch it. So yeah, in terms of a recommendation, if you have not seen Bodies, 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 definitely check it out. Like this, I don't know, like from for like newer horror movies like that came out in the last couple of years, this is probably one of the best ones. Like legit, this is one of the best ones that I've seen in the last couple of years. It's that great. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. But anyways, that has been my review. Thank you all very much for watching, and peace out.